Okay, everybody, cue spoon and music in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. My name is Joel Brown,
And I'm Jensen Anderson.
and we're just a couple of cool dudes who we basically we get along like a house on fire. And so, even though we are in separate countries at the moment, we've been friends for absolutely ages, Jen. So we basically just wanted to create a little kind of like a little selection of memoirs, and just basically be able to keep in touch, have a chat in the form of a podcast.
Yeah, I think everybody and their mother deserves a podcast these days. Nobody has anything to do. We're all trapped inside, and what better way to spend the time than just chatting with a good friend? We've known each other about 12 years now, I think.
It's just about that, which is crazy. I would have
Wild.
been I would have been like 8 years old at the time, which is
Yeah,
absolutely
I think I was
mental.
10. Crazy. But
What
yeah,
I like is that we've got some photos of that as well, from absolutely, like we're basically very, very beginnings, humble beginnings as well, with some dodgy Instagram captions as well. But I'm sure we'll get into that at a slightly later date. Massive smile from Jensen that I saw just there. So the name of our podcast is called Spooned It. And the reason for this is because ages ago, this phrase came into existence, and we were the creators of that phrase. Jensen, would you mind taking us back a few years?
absolutely. So picture, let's see, by that time, I'm going to say probably an 11-year-old and a 12-year-old chilling it in in the middle of East Africa, in Uganda, in the massive backyard. We had a half a basketball court back there. Eventually, we had a zip line. Great place to grow up. And me and my good friend Joel are just chilling in the backyard, kicking a soccer ball or football for those of you who are differently inclined in your speech, and we're just kicking it back and forth. And I don't remember who it was. One of us just drop kicks the thing as far as we possibly can and yells "Spooned it!" And the phrase was born. And there's been I specifically remember one instance where we forgot what the phrase was. Perhaps we hadn't seen each other in a while. And we were trying to remember, and so we were like drop kicking it, trying to like recollect what our phrase was that we said. And eventually we got it, and it's never left since that time.
That's absolutely brilliant. Funnily enough, I don't remember that second time that we forgot, because I still use the phrase to this day, and I expect everyone else to know what it means as well. So the amount of times I'll be playing footy with my mates, one of them will boot it, and I'll be like, "Oh, spooned it," and they all look at me like, "Joel, what are you saying, man?" And I was like, "What? Don't you know that infamous phrase?" And so the nice thing is, like Jensen said, so that was obviously quite a while ago in East Africa. So Jeds and I met in Uganda, where both of our families have quite a history. We've stayed there. I mean, I have lived there for about 12, 13 years, Jeds. How long was it for you?
It was about 7 from the time
About
we
yeah.
moved to the time we fully moved back. Yeah, about 7 years.
Yeah. So, I like quite a decent, and especially at the time in our lives at the moment, quite a substantial portion of our lives. And obviously, I've got memories and mates there that I will treasure forever. And that's partly what this is about. We're still able to keep in touch, and we just want to, take you guys on the journey of some of the memories that we have, and that we've got, and we want to share them. So basically one of the ways that Jens and I get along so well is through games. Now, like the game, we could go on. One game, Jensen, that I've been playing recently is KOTOR. Knights of the Old Republic, the first one as well. We were
Outstanding game.
chatting.
One of the all-time greats.
Incredible. Okay, I believe it came out. Was it early 2000s, or was that the second one?
It was like 2003 or something.
2000,
Somewhere, or
yeah,
maybe
something like
two or
that.
three. Yeah,
Yeah,
early
early
2000s.
early days, early days. And I remember the first time I saw you play this was probably, I must have been like 13, 14. And at that stage of my
Something like
life, it
that. Yeah.
just it boggled my mind. I was amazed. And I never gave it too much thought at that period of time. Coming back to the UK slightly more recently, really, I've been playing D&D with my mates quite a bit. Okay, I'm in 2 sessions at the moment. One of them, we're playing like this in the next few days, really, and that brought up, we got chatting again. He was like, "Oh, mate, you need to play Knights of the Old Republic. You need to go through that." And as soon as I played it, I was like, "Wait a minute, this is Dungeons and Dragons, Star Wars video game," and I was instantly hooked. I started playing a ridiculous amount of hours on the game, and I have recently finished it. Now, I absolutely love that game, but Jens, you've been playing that for a while now. When was the first time you finished that, or you completed the game?
That's a good question. I think probably the first time I finished it would have been, I want to say 2011 or
Mm.
yeah, it was probably 2011 because I remember me and my older brother, who's 2 years older than me, so we did everything together as well. Grew up and we loved like Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront 2 on the PlayStation 2,
Classic.
and we weren't allowed to have it because it was too violent or whatever, protective parents, and and we just lobbied for this game forever. I remember specifically there was one weekend we rented it from, I believe, Blockbuster Video, and rest in peace. And we rented that, or no, it was Hollywood Video. Was the local one, Hollywood Video. That's right. And we rented it and we played it for like a weekend nonstop. It was incredible, and we played at friends' houses, but we weren't allowed to own it. And then years later, we were both, so 2012. So we're early teens probably, and yeah, early teens, and we convinced our parents to let us for Christmas get a Star Wars game bundle essentially, and so we ordered all these things on Amazon and had them shipped to somebody who brought them over from the States to Uganda, and it was a whole thing. And in that bundle was Republic Commando, Battlefront 2, and Knights of the Old Republic, and those games are some of my all-time favorites ever. I just incredible games. And so KOTOR we played through, and we had didn't have a lot of knowledge about the game coming into it, and spoiler alert, we're probably going to talk about spoilers. Just anyone who hasn't played it, it has a massive twist at the end, incredibly good, and just really well written, and just so much went into that game. And for the time when it was made too, and even to this day, it just holds up. And it was one of the first games that had like hours upon hours of recorded dialogue, which was just a massively groundbreaking feat because of the storage space. Like I remember our copy came on 4 like separate discs to install it. You had to like switch out the discs in between the install because that's just how the storage was at that time. You just had to keep swapping them in and out as you installed the game.
Wow. Yeah. I think that is the one thing that amazes me, and that's why I'm so looking forward to playing the second one, which we will. I'm not sure we'll talk about it today, but because there was a bit of controversy with the release of the second one. But yeah, you think about some of the things that are said and some of the recorded stuff of like a completely alien species, and some of the stuff that they recorded, this being way back in the early 2000s, such a quality made game. And so I don't know, one thing that I would love to see is either maybe a remaster or even maybe like a KOTOR 3. If they could do that, if they could make that with the graphics of today, and just how far that technology and gaming has come since then. I don't know, man. Like I would love to see that happen. I'm begging people, anyone who can do that, please just get it done, because that would be amazing. Have you been playing D&D at all, Jetson? Because it's something that as soon as I came back, well, actually, not even that. Whenever I heard of D&D, I was just like, it's like, bro, I'm too cool for that kind of thing. I'm not a nerd on that level. No way. And we played one session when I was back, relatively early on, me being back. And all my days was almost instant. I was like, mate, this is just one of the coolest things ever. Almost just the other day, almost lost my first main character that I made. And it was jump scares, man. Jump scares.
Yeah. Let's see. I started playing tabletop RPGs with Call of Cthulhu, and that would have been, I believe, my freshman year of college, 4 years ago now. That's wild. And yeah, my brother, his girlfriend at the time, now wife, her childhood friend, who also lived in the Seattle area, was a game master and like ran these games, and he had all these in-depth like props and puzzles, and you'd acquire a newspaper clipping, and he would hand it to you, and then you could read it. It was amazing, so immersive. And we had a few sessions of that, and my character, incredibly memorable. He ended up being the only one of our party to survive, our party of like 5 or 6 people. His name is Darcy McHellscape, and we just went through everything with this guy. It's so good. But so yeah, from that that was my introduction to it. Basically, the first one I like fully played through a session, and then yeah, I have actually been playing D&D with the people in my house who they're let's see, somebody moved out. There's like 8 of us now, and so all the remainder of us I've been playing together for a few months now, starting this last term. And yeah, no, it's been great. I have a rogue. I get to put on my English accent, and no, it's a great time. Man, the great thing, I think D&D is best, and in RPGs in general, when you do something unexpected. Like when you're following, like it's fine when you're following the story, and you're with the plot, and things are going according to plan, and you're taking out the bad guys and finding the next clue, or whatever you need to find. That's all well and good, but where it's best, in my opinion, is when you're doing something unexpected and you're just making choices, and a good GM will be able to react and adapt and cater to whatever you're trying to do. So an example of this that happened, the session 2 weeks ago, is we had been ambushed by a party, and we were kind of like snooping into this, like basically they're the mob of this town, and we were kind of snooping into their business a little bit. They caught wind of it and ambushed us as we were traveling, and we took them out so easily. It was like just no problem at all, because our party is gigantic and we have some pretty beefy dudes. And we happened to leave one of them alive to ask about the base, and to find out information to attack it. And what we discovered was a completely on-the-spot created character named Lil Marco, who ended up being a really chill dude, and now he is going to be the head of a company that we're going to create out of the ruins of this bandit hideout that we're going to destroy. And we we have some very involved members, and one of them put together like a 4-page contract for this company, like basically laying out rules, regulations, and all this stuff. It's gonna be great. And that was like after we had finished all our encounter, people were starting to go to bed, and that was like an hour and a half that just like tacked onto the end of it, and that was the best part of the entire adventure at that time.
That's wicked. Yeah, so I think what I really like about D&D is when you and the mates that you're playing with, is when you really get into it. I have played recently. I mean, I say recently. I have played in the past with people who just like, yes, they're enjoying it, but they're not as in it as some of the other people, and it drains the energy out of it. On a night where all of you are really up to it, you're fully 100% in your characters. They're just like, the feel of it is incredible. I recently had a session where we'd found this old abandoned castle with this with this lovely servant guy called Bernard. One of like just an incredible and the way that the DM, the way that he constructed Bernard was amazing. And so we go through all of this stuff. Bernard's literally like part of the family, and we end up seeing Bernard like disappear, only to return as the king and rightful owner of the castle. And we're just standing there thinking, yes, Bernard. Oh my day. Like all of us were nearly in tears, man. Like it was so fun. But obviously I don't know. Like I definitely also enjoy it more when it's in person. It has been tough having to do it, not really over the phone, but over like a Zoom call or something like that. That is something that I've struggled with. When I started off doing D&D at the very start, obviously I was doing it with people uh, like all in one place unless there were people few and far between. But even with that, we'd occasionally have like one person on a laptop and the rest of us were in a place. It just made it, I don't know, it just made it a little bit better. And I just can't wait until this whole lockdown thing is done so I can have like a proper D&D sesh with the boys. Because I don't know, just being kept in one place is, I don't know, it's getting to me, man. Like, yeah, I need to break free. I need to get out of it.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely affects things. Like I've had both. I've had a lot of like basically I've experienced with three different types of RPGs: the Call of Cthulhu, D&D, and a Star Wars one. And I've experienced uh, several of those in like remote and both in person. And I think in person is just in general just gives you it's way easier when you're like looking at people's faces and you can like have the DM be changing the music. And not that you can't do some of that remotely, but it's a lot easier to zone out and not pay attention to things when you're just sitting in front of your computer and you can like click on your phone and it's like nobody will notice. And it basically, I don't know, the kind of social aspect of the game definitely is a
it's
big
essential.
part of what makes it
Mm.
makes it fun. And then you can put on your accent, look over at your friend, and meaningful glances at people, and just like and even just having the table in front of you and being able to pick up your piece and point to the we have coins representing our enemies to point to the coin of the guy that you're
Yeah.
attacking and whatnot. So yeah, the isolation is tough, but I am very grateful for being able to the internet, being able to communicate with people and stay in
Mm.
touch even if I haven't seen them in a while like you. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
so
I don't know. I think that's another thing that like is so nice about this. Obviously, it's so nice to just recollect about just like some of the memories that we have as mates, and that's partly what this is all about. Um, One thing I have been thinking about, just that I did want to chat to you about. So I've got my birthday coming up very soon, beginning of July, and obviously we're still going to be in lockdown at that point here in the
yeah.
UK. Like I don't know, I haven't known what to plan. Like I haven't known what to do. Have you had any mates that have had that, and or is there any tips or advice that you can give me, man? I need help.
I'm trying to think. The closest thing I can think of is like graduations, because for me that's basically what we're all going through right now, me
Oh,
and
of course,
a
yeah.
lot of the people I know. So it's a lot of like drive through type stuff. And yeah, I mean the D&D is helpful because we all live in the same house, so like
Yeah,
we don't need
yeah,
to
yeah.
social distance, so we're fortunate in that aspect. But yeah, no, birthdays, it's tough because you want to hang out and stuff. I don't know. I guess I don't know. What are the social distancing? Is it like maximum of like three people to a
It's
event, or
still 2 meters, but I think you're allowed to have either like 5 or 6 people who you haven't quarantined with in your garden. Like they're still not allowed in the house, but they can be there in the garden. So I think obviously that's the plan, is that I'm gonna have some mates over. I think, like we're just gonna see what happens. We'll probably just chill out, have some music, have a few beds, and then I think we're gonna play croquet as well. That's another thing because like the
nice?
garden. Yeah,
That's
yeah. So
great.
I'm like, I don't
A
know.
little
Um,
garden party.
yeah, yeah. Like it
That's
should be,
awesome.
obviously it's gonna be fine and it's gonna be
Yeah.
cool. But I'm just not. It's just something that I think about because obviously I haven't had a lockdown birthday before. And in fairness, just a few days ago, actually, we had a mate of mine, um his middle child had their birthday. And and he said, what, like it was cool. It was easy enough to do. You just like it's a special day and you just chill out, you just have a good time. So I don't know, like it's something that obviously I'm thinking about, but like because what's the plan with your graduation? Obviously it's going to be way different than it would have been, but what's happening with that?
Yeah, it's all online. So I'll just be
Wow.
heading home and uh yeah, hanging out with the family basically, and then probably people can call in and say congratulations. They do have like guest codes or something so that
Mm.
you can have your friends and family watch the presentation as well. I don't know why it's not just like open. I guess maybe because people are trolling. I don't know. But anyway,
Yeah.
the weird thing is they're not even giving out the codes to invite people until Thursday, which for me is tomorrow, and then the thing is on Saturday. So they're not. It's not. I don't. Basically I forgot how many codes I requested for guests, and my parents
Yeah.
have been trying to figure out how many people can watch and how we're gonna set all that up. And I've been like, I don't know. They haven't told me.
Yeah.
So
No idea. We'll have to see what happens.
yeah, here we are. One
'Cause
thing though. One thing. They
yeah.
are a bunch of people in my school. I go to the University of Washington, and they have I haven't seen it, but they've been recreating the campus in Minecraft
No way.
for everyone to be on campus for graduation in Minecraft. So
That's actually so sick.
yeah. So I don't know if I'll have to. I know one of my friends has been part of the team that's like building it. So I'll have to get in the server, or at least have a tour at least afterward and see
Mate.
what that's
Yeah.
like. So
I mean,
yeah.
that would be wicked. That'd be so cool. I feel like I've heard about some people doing that, whether or not that's, I can't remember whether or not you told me, but I feel like that is something that people can get into. I was actually playing a little bit of Minecraft with my mate the other day, and he just gotten down to, like diamonds and emeralds and stuff. So I was like playing with him. We started talking about Motherload as well, which is obviously an absolute classic of a game. There were many a late night spent at sleepovers completing that.
Absolutely.
But obviously back to the main.
We might need to do a top five Joel and Jensen game.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't even know. Like top 5 would be tough. If we did top 5, we'd have to like restrict it to.
We could do 10. We can make it a whole episode.
I feel like we could do 10 because obviously you've got like Pokemon games that come to mind, Need for Speeds. Like, oh my days, the amount of them is crazy. But like you mentioned before, obviously having a different graduation. My sister's going through a very similar thing at the moment. So she's about to graduate from school. So she's about to finish year 13, and she's been under quite a bit of pressure because she's head girl, which is very cool. I'm very proud of her for that. But so she's having to not lead that, but she's having to take a lot of that responsibility, and it's really tough on her. And she just has no idea what to do. So she's having to plan for an online one, which none of her mates want to do. And so she's thinking, surely, like trying to talk to the school, saying, surely, like some of us can come in or something like that, and still socially distancing away. But yeah, I mean, she says it's really tough, and she's seeing, because stuff happened with her exams as well, and it's like, right, well, they're cool, they're done. But she gave a really interesting perspective on it. She said, well, obviously she's glad that she doesn't have to have the stress of those exams anymore, but her entire school life has literally led up to that one moment, or like to those exams really. And then suddenly it's like, boom, you're not even going to do them anymore.
Does she still get credit for it? Or
yeah, so I believe how it works is she's going to get her predicted grades, and that's what will go off to universities.
Interesting.
Which is obviously fine, which obviously works because it gives you a final grade. But what if you feel that you could have done better than that, and maybe if you don't get into a place and you start thinking, oh, I reckon if all this hadn't happened, I would have been able to push more in the exam, get that extra grade. I don't know. I really feel for her at the moment, just because she's under a lot of pressure with that. So yeah,
tough.
man.
Admissions for schools next year is going to be wild, just because everything's
yeah,
so
man.
People missing their final exams and SATs, and grades are going to be weird, and yeah, that'll be an interesting one. See how everybody deals with it. If we get out of lockdown like before the next school year starts, because
yeah,
who knows?
How long do you reckon it's going to be like the healing time or healing period for the world when all this is done?
I saw some headline about like predictions going all the way to 2022, like for like mild social distancing, which seems ridiculous, but who knows? I mean, I feel like with all the protests and whatnot going on, it feels like we're due for a massive spike with the lack of social distancing. happening in a lot of those
I
places. I mean, not
yeah.
everyone, obviously, but a lot of the, and I've seen it myself in downtown Seattle. There's a lot of not social distancing going on, and people mixing and wearing masks and coughing, and obviously they're in their
I
right to do so, but it
Yeah,
feels like we're due for another
I
one.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's another spike, not at all. Which is a shame because obviously it is good to see people, um, like making their feelings known and wanting to change something. But surely at the moment that we're at the moment, like it's tough to justify that is the right way to go about it. And I'm not saying that it's entirely wrong because yes, it is. Like I said, bringing that message across. It's just tough, man. I'm honestly not too sure about how I feel about the whole thing because I can see points of, that I
Yeah.
agree with for both sides. I was chatting to a friend of mine today, and he kind of just it was kind of out of the blue rather, but he just said, "Oh, I what if this is all just rubbish? What if we're only now like being brought to light on how many deaths there actually are that we just don't hear about, and suddenly that's being highlighted just around the world."
Oh, you think so?
um
He's saying that it's been downplayed, the effect of the virus.
oh yeah, or
Oh,
it's
okay.
just not, or it just doesn't exist.
Or the
And
virus doesn't exist at all.
I mean that, and like I said, it was very just sort of up in the air, kind of
Right.
not, but it begs the question. It's like, well, how much of this isn't being played up and isn't being sort of like put in the spotlight as like, oh, like, come on, this is very serious. This needs to happen. It's tough. It's tough to know what to believe 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Which I think is fair enough. But I don't know, man. It is tough. How has Seattle been coping with it as like a city? I remember you saying that obviously there were like riots and stuff, or protests even rather.
No,
But
there
yeah,
there were riots definitely. Um, I work as a security guard downtown, and
mm,
the literally the street I was on was where, I mean, I think where things were starting. They walked that particularly. What was it, last Friday? I think, or no, it would have been Saturday. They when people were, I think that was it was probably the second day, but I think it was the first day
yeah,
where people were really organizing. They literally marched right down the street
wow,
past my building and stuff, and there was peaceful marches, and then I turned on the news, and all my supervisors started calling in, and they were asking if everything was okay, if you know if anything was going on, and feel free to call the police and go hide in the back room. Like, it was a pretty serious situation. There was
damn,
cop cars getting burned, and some weapons were stolen out of them too. But yeah, no, it was pretty wild. And then as I was driving away from work, there was just like I saw smoke and tear gas like just billowing down the street. It was really surreal. It literally felt like, pardon me, felt like I was playing like Call of Duty or something,
yeah,
downtown, and insurrections and fighting in the streets basically. But
wow,
it was wild. It was wild. I have some friends who are trying to get down to the protest, but trying to figure out how to do it safely and get masks and eye protection. And
mm,
there's a lot, there's a lot going on. It seems like it's quieter now. Like this week, the
then
first the first couple
yeah,
days were pretty extreme. It seems since then things have quieted down and maybe gotten a little bit more peaceful. People are
mm,
still demonstrating, and there's people walking around every day with signs and whatnot. But
yeah.
it it does seem like it's a bit more mellow, especially than it was at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like people have maybe just found like their rhythm a little bit with all of this because obviously it's basically your life gets turned upside down, get flipped completely on its head, and you have to adjust to that, and that is something that all of us, bar none, have had to do. And so I feel a lot of compassion for the lives that has changed greater than mine because I've been incredibly blessed with everything that's been given and the place that I am at the moment. So I don't know, it's tough, man, and I'm sure we will go into this some later day on the Spooned It podcast. But yeah, man, I don't know. It is tough, and it's I'm like you said before, actually, Jensen. You know, you're just grateful for where technology is at the moment, and the fact that we can do something like this, and we can check in on each other. And I think on that note, I would advise, just friends of yours, family, loved ones, just check in on them. Just flick them a text, just give them a call. It really, you've got a lot of time on your hands at the moment, so just do something like that, and it goes a really, really long way. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit of a serious moment on the SpewnedIt podcast. Well, just a brief one though. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's where we might end for today, gents. If that's all right with you, I feel like this has been good. For those of
Uh-huh.
you out there that haven't played KOTOR, please do. Even if you're not a fan of Star Wars, not a fan of D&D,
If you're a
who
fan
cares,
of
man?
storytelling, it's a great story,
Yes,
and it's a dated game. Graphics are a bit whack, but it has a lot of charm, and there's just some memorable characters. It's really well written, and it's a great way to, I don't want to say escape, but I mean it's a great experience. Honestly,
it's one of those games where it's not really something that you just play in the background, which I feel like there are games like that, and we'll
yeah,
talk
for sure.
about that at some point. But it's one of those games where you live it, you're living the game, you're living the character, and it's just nice, man, because you have to make some serious decisions, and it's cool. It's a good game. For the moment, though, that is all we have time for. Make sure that you do hit that subscribe button if that's the way we're doing this. But yeah, for the moment, my name is Joel Brown,
I'm Jensen Anderson.
and this has been episode 1 of the SpewnedIt podcast.